All right, this is the review for 2.1 and 2.2 in Algebra 2, vertex and standard form of quadratic functions. All right, so we got some essential information here, and we got some vocab, right? And then there's some checklists, right, to see what you can do. I think the important things to write in here are the vertex and standard forms here. So I'm going to take time to fill those in. So the vertex form of a quadratic function is going to be f of x equals a times x minus h squared plus k, right? And then our standard form was f of x equals a x squared plus bx plus c. And we needed to be able to interchange in between the two of those, but those are the two main forms here. Okay, x-intercepts obviously where it crosses the x-axis, y-intercepts where the graph crosses the y-intercept, the y-axis. Okay, your vertex is h comma k. Your vertex is the maximum or minimum of it's the max or min of the parabola, right? And then your axis of symmetry was x equals h, right? The parabola is the same on the left of that line as it is on the right. It's like a reflection over that line. All right, let's look at some of the questions though. So number one, what is the equation of the parabola that has the vertex to 1 and travels through the point 1, 11? So I'm going to start with vertex form, f of x equals a x minus h squared, x minus h squared plus k. All right, and I'm going to substitute in my h and my k here for my vertex. So I'm going to put in f of x equals a, and then I'm going to do x minus 2 squared, and then plus 1. So my equation's good, except I don't have the a. I don't know what this a is here. So what we're going to do to solve for that a is we're going to substitute in the point 1, 11. So 1's going to be my x value, 11 is my y value. Each coordinate is x comma y. So I'm going to put 11 in here. I'm going to leave my a. I'm going to do 1 minus 2 squared plus 1, which is going to give me a. 1 minus 2 is negative 1 squared plus 1. So that's going to be 11 equals a times 1 plus 1. And then a times 1 is just simply a. So I'm going to leave it as a plus 1. And then to solve for a, I can subtract 1 from both sides, and I get 10 equals a. So now I can write my equation, f of x equals 10, and then x minus 2 squared, quantity squared, and then plus 1. And there's the equation for my parabola. Perfect. Okay. The next one, we're doing the same sort of idea here. So f of x equals a, and then I'm going to substitute in, this is my h, and this is my k. So it's going to be x minus negative 5, which becomes x plus 5 squared, and then plus k, so plus 8. All right, then I'm going to plug in or substitute in negative 4 for x and 1 for y because it's traveling through that point. That point is on the graph. It's part of the equation. So I'm going to substitute in 1 here equals a, and then negative 4 plus 5. Quantity squared plus 8. So that's going to give me a times 1 squared plus 8. 1 squared is 1. 1 times a is just a. So that's a plus 8. Then I can subtract 8 on both sides. So I get negative 7 equals a. Now I have a, I can write my equation. F of x equals negative 7. X plus 5 squared plus 8. And there is my equation. So there's 1 and 2. We got to be able to write the equation in vertex form here if we have the vertex and one other point. Right, that's that first check mark. So if we can do 1A and 2A, we can put a check mark right here on that first one, right? So we just did that. Should be able to put a check mark right here. Okay. All right, let's look at the next one. 2, 3, I'm sorry, or B. Here's the B's. 1, B, C, D, and E. Okay. 1B, axis of symmetry. So first, let's start with the vertex. I like to do the vertex first. Okay, so your vertex is H comma K. So here's H, here's K. So our vertex is +2, +1. Remember, you got to switch the sign, or think of it as switching the sign for the x. It's not really switching the sign because it's x minus h, but h is going to be 2, and k is going to be 1. So 2, 1. Okay, A is +10, so this parabola is opening up. So if it opens up, this is a minimum. And our minimum is the vertex in a parabola. So our minimum is going to be 2, 1. And then our axis of symmetry is always x equals h. It's the line x equals h. It's a vertical line. So in this case, it's going to be x equals 2 because our h value is 2. All right, we're gonna now convert from standard form, or from vertex form to standard form. So let's go down there and look at this for 1e. So what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna expand out x minus 2 squared, and I'm gonna write it as x minus 2 times x minus 2. And then put my +1 on the outside. So I'm gonna do y equals 10. And then in parentheses, I'm going to FOIL my my binomial distribution, first outer inner last. X times x is x squared. X times -2 is minus 2x. -2 times x is -2x. -2 times -2 is +4. Okay, when I finish my binomial distribution, my FOILing, I'm going to close the parenthesis. And then I still have a +1 on the outside here. I'm going to combine like terms inside the parentheses first. So that's going to be x squared minus 4x plus 4. And then I have a +1 on the outside. So I'm going to have, y equals. Okay, now I'm going to distribute my 10. So 10 times x squared is going to give me 10x squared. 10 times -4 is going to be -40x. 10 times 4 is going to be 40. And then I have this +1 on the outside. So I'm going to end up with 10x squared minus 40x plus 41. Okay. In order to graph this, we need the vertex and the y-intercept. So we already have the vertex here from standard form. It was 2, 1. If we find the y-intercept here, you have to substitute in a 0 for x. So 0 minus 2 is going to be -2 squared plus 1. That's going to be +4. 10 times 10 is 40 plus 1. So my y-intercept here is going to be 0.41. If we look at it from standard form, h is going to be equal to -b over 2a. So h is going to be equal to, right, and opposite of b, that's going to be 40 over 2 times 10. Gives me h equals 40 divided by 20 is going to be 2. If I substitute that back in, if I put that in my calculator, right, 10 times 2 squared minus 40 times 2 plus 41. That's going to be 40 minus 80 is -40 plus 41 is going to be 1. So again, I get a vertex of 2, 1. If I substitute 0 in here, we get 0, 0, 41. So again, my y-intercept is 0, 41. So it doesn't matter which way you graph it. If you graph it using vertex form, or if you graph it using standard form, you're going to end up with the same graph. Okay, so let's graph it. My vertex is 2, 1, right here. 2, 1. Okay, this is way off the graph here. Your y-intercept was 0, 41. Okay, remember if our axis of symmetry, right, if this is my axis of symmetry, right, since this point is 2 to the left, I can put another point 2 to the right of that, which is going to put me at 4, 41. Right, and then now I can graph my parabola like such. Okay, it's going to look something like this. All right, the second one. Let's look at the second one. Okay, again, I like to start with the vertex. So my vertex is going to be -5, 8. Right, this is h, and this is k. But remember, the equation is x minus h. So this is really x minus a -5. That's how you get a plus, minus a negative. So it's really -5, which means my axis of symmetry is x equals -5. All right, since a is -7, that means this parabola is opening downward, which means we have a maximum. And then the maximum is going to be -5, 8, right? The maximum or min of a parabola is the vertex. All right, and let's convert to standard form now. So y equals -7. I'm going to do x plus 5 times x plus 5, and then plus 8. So y should equal -7. Okay, we distribute. X times x is x squared. X times 5 is plus 5x. 5 times x is 5x. And then 5 times 5 is plus 25. I'm going to close my parentheses and then put my plus 8 at the end. Okay, I'm going to combine like terms in my parentheses first. So I have x squared plus 10x plus 25 plus 8. Okay, and now I can distribute my -7 to each of those terms in the parentheses. So that's going to be -7x squared minus 70x. And then -7 times 25 is going to be minus 175. And then I have my plus 8 at the end. So then the last step is to add that plus 8 in there. So I have -7x squared minus 70x minus 167. And there is standard form. Okay. If you want to verify this, we can look for the vertex and make sure it's the same, right? So again, h equals opposite of b over 2a. So that's going to be 70 over 2 times -14. I'm sorry, 2 times -7. Right, -7. So 70 over -14 is going to give me -5. Okay, and then if I use my calculator and plug that in, that's -7 times 5 squared minus 7 times 5 minus 167. So if you put that in the calculator, you should get 8, right? We should get 8. So let's see. That's -7 times 5 squared minus 70 times 5 minus 167. Right, -7. Oops. -5. That's where we're wrong here. Sorry, -5. H is -5. So there, if we put that in, then we get 8. So then you get -5, comma 8, which, right, is the same vertex we got up here, -5, comma 8. So these are going to give us the same graph. Okay, so if we go down there and graph it, we should have -5, 8 right here. Okay, and then to find the y-intercept, you can plug 0 in for x. You substitute 0 in for x into either equation. It doesn't matter which one you do it for. And if you do that, you should get -167 as your y-intercept, which is, again, way off the graph. So 0, comma, -167. Your axis of symmetry is x equals, right? X equals -5 here. And that means, since our y-intercept is 5 to the right, there's going to be another point that's 5 to the left here, which is going to be at -10, comma, -167. So then you can draw in your parabola with our 3 points. That wasn't the best line, but you get the idea. Okay, so your graph should look something like this. That's not good either. That's the best we could do. Something like that. All right, let's look at the back. Okay, number 3. So actually, let's look back to our checklist now. So if we look at our checklist, I can write the equation. I converted from vertex to standard form. I calculate the axis of symmetry, max and min, vertex, right? So right there, we kind of have all of those things checked off just from that one problem. But let's look here at the next one, 3. Okay, what's the y-intercept? So we have to substitute in 0 for x, again, just like we did on the last one. So this is going to be 0 plus 0 plus 4. So our y-intercept here, right, is going to be 0, comma 4. Okay, axis of symmetry and vertex. To find the axis of symmetry and the vertex, we need to find h first. So h is opposite of b over 2a. Okay. Again, a is the coefficient in front of the x squared, so a is going to be -5. B is going to be 3. And then c is going to equal 4. All right, so opposite of b is going to be -3 over 2 times -5, which is going to give us -3 over -10, which is going to be +3 over +10. So our axis of symmetry is going to be x equals 3 over 10. Our vertex, the h is 3 over 10. We need to find the k. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the 3 over 10, the x value of the vertex, and we're going to substitute it into our equation. So -5 times 3 over 10 squared plus 3 times 3 over 10 plus 4. I'm just going to use my calculator because that's a lot of fractions in there. So -5, parentheses, I'm going to do 3 divided by 10 squared plus 3, and in parentheses, 3 divided by 10 plus 4. It gives me 89 over 20. Which means my vertex is 3 over 10, comma, 89 over 20. Nothing wrong with fractions. All right, over here, again, a is going to equal 4, b is going to be equal to 0, and c is going to be equal to 2. Right, a, b, and c. Just because b's not written here doesn't mean there's not a 0, right? You have 0 x's, so this is a, b, and c. Okay, your y-intercept is going to be 0, 2, right? Your C is going to be your y-intercept in standard form. But if you need to, you can substitute in a 0 for x. So 4 times 0 squared is 0 plus 2. All right, to find the axis of symmetry, we need to do h equals opposite of b over 2a. So that's going to be 0 over 2 times 4, which is 0 over 8, which is just going to be 0. So my axis of symmetry is x equals 0. And we already know when you plug 0 in for x, we're going to get 2, right? So y equals 4 times 0 squared plus 2. You're going to get 0 right? 0, 2. So my vertex is 0, comma 2, the same as the y-intercept, right? So when I graph this, right, my vertex is going to be on that y-intercept. All right, that's vertex y-intercept from standard form. Let's look at 5a and 5c. Okay, on these, they're giving us the graph, and they want us to fill in this information. Let me zoom out a little more. All right, so vertex form here. I'm sorry, vertex. What's the vertex? The vertex is the maximum or minimum of the parabola. So it's going to be right here. That's going to be 2. I don't know why that got so small. That's going to be 2, comma 1. Right, so there's my vertex, which means my axis of symmetry is x equals 2, right? This is the line where it's symmetrical over, right? If you reflect the left half over the right or the right half over the left, they're going to be the same. So our axis of symmetry is x equals 2. And then your y-intercept's where it crosses the y-axis. So our y-intercept here is going to be 0, -5. Okay, and then if a equals -1, we can write our vertex form. So vertex form, again, is f of x equals a times x minus h squared plus k. All right, so in this case, f of x is going to equal -1, so just negative, and then x minus 2 squared plus 1. Okay, vertex over here is going to be 1, comma 5. I'm sorry, this is -1. This is -1. So this should all be negative. K should be -1. I'm sorry. -1. -1. Okay, we good? All right, 1, comma 5. So my vertex here is 1, comma 5. Which means my axis of symmetry is x equals +1. My y-intercept, where it crosses the y-axis, is going to be 0, 2. Okay, so I have a is -3, h is 1, k is 5. So my vertex form is going to be f of x equals -3 x minus 1 squared, and then plus 5. All right, we got one more page to go, one more half a page to go. Let's look at it. Want to convert the equation from 5a into standard form. So let's write these down. I had f of x equals negative, and then it was x minus 2 squared minus 1. And then over here we had f of x equals -3 x minus 1 squared plus 5. All right, so if we multiply these out, I'm just going to use y here, make it easier. Y equals negative x minus 2 times x minus 2 minus 1. Y equals negative, and then a big parentheses, I'm going to do x squared, right? X times x is x squared. X times -2 minus 2x minus 2x plus 4, right? First, outer, inner, last. I'm going to combine like terms in the parentheses first. So that's going to be x squared minus 4x plus 4 plus 4. Okay, and then I'm going to distribute that negative to everything that's in the parentheses, right? All three terms. So I'm going to have negative x squared plus 4x minus 4. And then I have my extra minus 1 on the outside. So it's going to be y equals negative x squared plus 4x minus 5. Okay, perfect. Okay, next one, gonna have -3 on the outside here, and then I'm gonna do x minus 1 times x minus 1, and then I'm gonna do plus 5 on the outside. So I got a FOIL again, binomial distribution. First, outer, inner, last. First, x times x gives me x squared. X times -1 is negative x. -1 times x is negative x. -1 times -1 is +1. Okay, before I distribute the -3, I want to combine like terms in the parentheses first. So I'm going to do x squared minus 2x plus 1. And then on the outside, I have plus 5. Now I can distribute this -3 to each of the terms on the inside of the parentheses. So I'm going to have -3x squared plus 6x minus 3, and then I can't forget about my plus 5 at the end. So I'm going to have -3x squared plus 6x plus 2. And there's my standard form. Okay, if I wanted to check those, I could check and make sure the vertex is the same, right? So opposite of b, this would be -4. Divided by 2 times -1 is going to be 4/2, which is a +2. Then I could plug 2 in. That's -4 plus 8. Right, which is +4 minus 5, -1. So that's good. Same thing on this one. -6 over 2 times -3. -6 over -6 is +1. And then if you substitute 1 in here, you're going to get -3 plus 6 is 3 plus 2 is 5. Yep. So you can check and just make sure your vertex is the same. Good way to check. All right, last two questions are the word problems. Okay, so 7, a ball is tossed into the air from the top of a house. The height of the ball after x seconds is modeled by the equation y equals -16x squared plus 32x plus 20. What is the maximum height in feet reached by the ball? Okay, so our x here, if I were to do this here, right, if I have a graph, right, x is going to be, this is our x. It's going to be time in seconds. And then our y is going to be the height. So what we need to do is we need to find the vertex, right? Because it's going to look something like this, right? And this is going to be our vertex. That's going to be the maximum for the height. So let's find h first. H is going to be opposite of b over 2a. So again, a here, if we write it out, a is -16 B is 32, and C is 20. All right, so opposite of B is going to be negative 32 over 2 times negative 16. Which should give us 1, right? So H equals 1. This is 1 second. Okay. So then to find my K, I need to substitute in that 1. So negative 16 times 1 squared plus 32 times 1 plus 20. So that's going to be equal to negative 16, right? 1 times, yep, plus 32 plus 20, which is going to give us 16 plus 20, which is going to give us 36. Okay, so my vertex is going to be 1 comma 36. All right, so that means after 1 second, the ball reached a height. Right, after 1 second, the ball reached a height, its maximum height of 36 feet. Okay, so what is the maximum height the ball reached? The maximum height the ball reached was 36 feet. Okay, and how many seconds did it take for the ball to reach its maximum height? It took 1 second. Right, it took 1 second for the ball to reach its maximum height of 36 feet. 8. Okay, coin is tossed into the air from the top of a garage. The height of the coin after X seconds is modeled by the equation as follows. What is the maximum height in feet reached by the coin? So again, we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to do H equals negative B over 2A. So in this case, it's going to be negative 64 over 2 times negative 16, which is going to give me a positive 2. 64 divided by 32. Negative 64 over negative 32. So then I need to substitute in 2 to get my K. So Y equals negative 16 times 2 squared plus 64 times 2 plus 15. Okay, that's going to give me 4. That's going to be negative 64 plus 128 plus 15. Which is going to give me 64 plus 15, 69, 79. 79. Okay, so if I were to graph this, right, we have seconds on the bottom. This is my X. Right, and then we have height in feet as my Y. It's going to look something like this because it's going to go up and then come down, right? Starts at the top of the garage and then it's going to come down. So right here is my vertex, which is 2 comma 79. So what is the maximum height reached by the coin? Well, that's going to be 79 feet. Right? And how long did it take to reach that? It took 2 seconds. Right? It took 2 seconds to reach that maximum height of 79 feet. Right, and that's the review.